Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm sure you already read the title of this video, but I am excited to announce that this is season 1 episode 1 of my indoor seed to harvest video. Now in this series I'm going to be trying my hand at autoflowers. I'm going to be documenting the entire process from seed to harvest and showing you what worked for me and what didn't. Now I just want to mention that I'm going to be putting timestamps in the description below so that you can get to a particular topic that you want more info on. And lastly, before we get started, I just want to mention that I do not claim to be a master grower. I am forever and always going to be a student. So the things that I'm trying are the things that I've looked up, the things I've researched, and there are 1,000,001 ways to do one thing or the other. So this is just the way I'm going to be doing things. And I'm also open to suggestions in the comments if you think I did something wrong or I should have done something a different way. So let me know so we can all become better gardeners. So with that all said, sit back, relax, and enjoy. So first and foremost, before you buy anything, whether it be your grow tent, your grow lights, or anything, you're first going to want to do a little site survey of your home.
I don't know what you mean.
And what I mean by site survey is do a little inspection of your home. You are first going to want to find enough space to grow in depending on your need and the amount of plants that you're going to want to grow. And also some environmental factors to take into consideration. So when it comes to the environment of your home, it can be drastically different. So say you decide to choose a room with a south-facing wall. Now, if you live in the northern hemisphere, this south-facing wall will receive the most amount of sun throughout the entire day. And with that extra amount of sun that it gets, that will result in that room overall being warmer. Now this may be the intended effect. Say if you are choosing to grow in winter time where it's not optimal to be growing outdoors, so you want that extra warmth throughout the day in order to heat up that grow area. But that may also in turn be a negative effect to say if you were growing in the summertime where the temperature outside is already hot and you want to keep the internal temperatures of your grow tent a little bit cooler. So doing a general site survey and getting a feel for the room or the location where you choose in your home to grow is going to help you overall to have a better environment for the plants to grow and thrive successfully. Now another environmental factor to take into consideration that might be overlooked sometimes is the amount of power outlets that you have near that grow space that you choose.
What's left of a life depends on a machine powered by a cord that leads to a plug in an electrical outlet, and I decide when it gets pulled.
So taking a look around to see where your power outlets are and where in retrospect you want to place your grow tent will affect if you need to say buy extension cords or any power adapters to actually supply your tent with electricity. And I think this goes without saying, but I'm gonna bring it up anyways and say to measure out the amount of space that you actually have.
You have to measure it first!
So say for example you're growing in a closet. Well, that grow tent that you buy is obviously going to need to fit in that amount of space. So measuring out the space that you have will save you a headache later on down the line. The last thing to take into consideration is the type of cannabis plant that you want to grow.
What type of plant is that?
And what I mean by type is Photoperiods or Autoflowers. Now, the overall structure of these plants can grow drastically different from one another. Photoperiods grow much larger and give an overall larger yield. And what I found online is that the average height of a photoperiod is about 4 foot tall without any extra training or anything done to it. Now with that gives you the knowledge to buy a tent suitable for that photoperiod if that's what you decide to grow. And a good rule of thumb is if you decide to grow a photoperiod, you would want about a 6 foot tall tent. And that's because if you're growing these 4 foot tall plants to maturity, you're going to want a little extra gap at the top, and that's to move up and down the grow light as it matures, as each stage of the cannabis plant will need adjustments of your grow light. Now if you're deciding to grow autoflowers, that gives you a little bit more leeway in the size of the tent since they grow much smaller. Now for this season I'm going to be growing autoflowers. So now I'm going to take you into the garage and show you my setup. First up we have the Unitech 2-in-1 grow tent. Now this tent measures out to 36 by 24 by 53 inches or 3 foot by 2 foot by 4.5 foot. And at the time I paid about $80. Now for this being a 2-in-1 it was supposed to have a partition right down the middle to separate a seed starting section from your normal grow area. However, I decided to remove that part entirely to have one overall larger grow space. Next, I'm using two MaxiSun PB1500 full spectrum LED grow lights. They each measure out to 16 by 10.8 inches, and I paid $100 each for them. For the air filtration, I went with a 4-inch VivoSun carbon filter and inline fan, which includes 8 feet of ducting. I paid close to $100 for the whole kit. And at the bottom of the tent, I have an iPower 4-inch booster fan that I'm using as an intake to bring in cool air from outside. I paid $30 for it. And one cool trick that I found is to use some thin stockings in order to cover up your intake so no bugs or critters get into your tent. To increase the humidity for the tent, I bought a simple humidifier offline. This humidifier is from Raydrop, which is a Cool Mist 2.2 liter humidifier that has a runtime of about 30 hours. I paid about 30 bucks for it. Now I wanted to add some automation to my setup, so I bought the Inkbird ITC 308 temperature controller with the IHC 200 humidity controller, and I paid around 70 bucks for both. Now both of these control the temperature and humidity separately by using probes that you can place within your grow tent to provide a reading. Depending on the reading, you can set up what % of humidity or temperature that you want for your grow tent to be. They will then power on or off the humidifier or dehumidifier and your AC or heater. Now I'm only going to be using a humidifier for my setup, and the temperature controller will only be powering on the intake and exhaust to cool the tent. To have some air movement within the tent, I have a simple 4-inch house fan that I have plugged into a dollar store timer. I currently have it turned both on and off with the grow lights. And lastly, I'm using two smart plugs that I already had to control when the lights turn off and on. So the total cost of the setup was roughly around $530. Now one thing that I didn't bring up in the video is zip ties. So I wanted to definitely point this out just to let you guys know that these will be a lifesaver, and more than likely you will be needing them to basically hang everything that is up in the grow tent. And in the next video, we're going to be going over germination and the seedling stages. And I'm going to be going into more detail about the temperature, the humidity, and the lighting schedule. Now I'm going to be trying to post a video update every week, if not bi-weekly. And I'm going to be putting all of season 1 episodes in one playlist so that you don't have to scramble around my channel trying to figure out the subsequent video to watch. If you did enjoy this video or found it useful, don't forget to hit the like button down below. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe so you can see the upcoming episodes of this grow series. And if you want to see more content like this, you can click any of the links to the right of me, one of which I'll link a full outdoor seed to harvest video if you haven't checked that video out already. And as always, you won't get a harvest if you don't sow seeds. Peace.